welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over all the action that has taken place this weekend in the Championship, and oh my word, we have a lot to discuss. This was probably one of the highest scoring Championship weekends we've had so far this season. We've had some absolute thrashings today, and we've got a lot to talk over. So as always, guys, I would love to get your guys' opinions on what you thought of your team's performance this weekend. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it. Also as well, I would love to know from you guys, what did you think was the result of the weekend, and what did you think was the goal of the weekend? We've got a lot of contenders for these, so I can't wait to get into it. Also as well, guys, this video will be split into two parts. So the first half of the video will be me going over each game which is taking place this weekend in the Championship, and then the second half of the video is going to be my midweek Championship score predictions. So guys, just before we do get into any of the matches, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to predict any of the scorelines this weekend, I will include your comment on screen now. So fair play to everyone who got a scoreline correct this weekend, because like I said, this was a very unpredictable weekend just because of the amount of sheer goals that have been scored. So without further ado, guys, if you do go to enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like. But apart from that, let's get into some of the action. So our first game we have to round up is the one taking place on Friday night between Derby and Hull City, and immediately we have a contender for result of the weekend. Derby County absolutely demolished Hull by 5 goals to 0, and I don't think I'm alone in saying this. I was not expecting this scoreline. Derby County so far this season have been a side which has been pretty underwhelming so far, in my opinion. You know, we were all aware of some of the attacking talent they had, but it hadn't really been on show so far. But in this game, they completely unloaded all of that all over Hull City, and they just couldn't cope with it. I was baffled by how much space Derby were getting in behind by some of their runners going in, and Vidro, what an unbelievable game he had in this game here today. He was absolutely unplayable for Derby. In fairness, Hull did have a chance to get back into this game, you know. Seb Larsson had a penalty for Hull that would have made it 1-1 if he did convert it, but it was a horrendous miss over the top of the crossbar, and after that, Hull just seemed to really shrink into their shell, lose a lot of confidence, and Derby took full advantage. Bradley Johnson got 2 goals. Vidra, as I already said, managed to bag 2. He could be a massive player for Derby this season. Definitely one full of talent, you know. He scored 2 terrific goals, and Curtis Davis as well, scoring against his old club. So Derby fans, I'm sure you guys will be absolutely buzzing, and rightly so. It was a fantastic performance. And then for our next fixture we do go, we then have Aston Villa, who came up against Brentford, and in the end this one managed to finish as a 0-0 draw, which I was a little bit surprised at, to be honest, considering some of the attacking options which I suppose both of these sides do have. I was a little bit surprised that it did end 0-0 in the end, but did one side deserve to win this? In my opinion, yes. Brentford in this game were by far the better side, you know. Quite a few questions have been asked of Brentford recently after they had a pretty sloppy deadline day, you know. Most of all, they lost out on Jota, but they've still got some great attacking options going forward, and if it wasn't for Sam Johnson, the Aston Villa keeper, Brentford without a shadow of a doubt would have won this game. Aston Villa in this one were so far off the pace, it was unbelievable. It looked like a really lazy, tired, and quite lethargic performance from them, really. And so I know quite a bit of pressure is actually building now on Steve Bruce, because this Villa side needs to start performing. He's had 2 transfer windows with them now. He's not really got any excuses. He's had a full pre-season as well, and they're still playing this sort of bland, tired-ish football, which isn't going to see them promoted. But overall, I thought Brentford were unlucky. Villa got a lot to owe Sam Johnson for. And then for our next fixture we do go, we have another big scoreline in the Championship. That was Middlesbrough, who managed to dispatch Bolton Wanderers by 3 goals to 0. And in the end, this was just a pretty complete performance from Middlesbrough in the end. Bolton in this one, they were pretty much second best at everything all day in this one. You know, I don't think any Bolton fan can have any complaints about how this game went ahead and unfolded. But the starmen in this one, Adama Traore and Britta Sombolonga, were just unplayable in this one. Traore especially was causing all sorts of problems for the Bolton defence that they were struggling with from minute one, and he was putting chances on a plate for Sunderland, and he of course responded, getting 2 goals in this game, showing just how deadly he can actually be as a Championship striker. And so far this season, Middlesbrough have been a little bit frustrating with some of their attacking options. You know, they've been creating chances but not really been as clinical as they could have been. That was the opposite in this match. They were dispatching chances, and this could now lead to a big run for Middlesbrough. And then for our next game we then had Fulham, who came up against Cardiff City, and in the end this one managed to finish as a 1-1 draw. So I know quite a few people did actually predict this one to go ahead and finish as a 1-1 draw. Fulham so far this season actually have picked up quite a few draws, and Fulham, it's just been the story of their season so far. Did they create chances in this game? Yes, absolutely. Did they take them all? No. They really do need to start getting a bit more clinical, and I think that they will, in all honesty. I think, given a bit more time, I still think Fulham will go on a run and they will end up at the top of the table come the end of the season. They had a few injuries going into this one as well, but even so, they were putting chances on a plate for each other and they just couldn't find the back of the net. So a really frustrating one for Fulham actually. It was Ryan Sessegnon who finally gave them the lead in the 75th minute after a nicely worked goal, but Cardiff managed to respond with Danny Ward getting them back in the 83rd minute, and honestly after that both sides did have chances to go ahead and win this game, so a point, probably not the worst result. And then for our next fixture we then had Leeds United, who came up against Burton Albion, and in the end we had another absolute thumping in the Championship as Leeds managed to win by 5-0. And just look at the shots in this one. Leeds having 30 compared to Burton Albion's 1. I mean, Burton they were never really in this game, let's be honest about it. And Burton's game plan for this one probably was going to be to try and sit back, soak up a bit of the pressure, but that was pretty much thrown out the window when Lasogga managed to bag his first goal for Leeds on the 20th minute on his debut. And what a debut it was for him. Leeds going forward, I don't even think I'm exaggerating when I say they could have had about 10 goals in this game. They were just so persistent going forward. Every minute they were crafting out something, and they've got so many creative players now in this Leeds squad. I know they were playing Burton Albion, they're not going to be up there at the end of the season, but this attack that Leeds have assembled now for this season, it is going to cause a whole lot of problems for any defence in the Championship. So that's why I fully expect them to be up there at the end of the season, because this was just a complete performance from them going forward. You know, Lasogga could have had about 5 goals really with some of the chances he had, but the pick of the goals from Leeds had to go to Kemar Roofe, straight into the back of the net from outside the box, curled it into the bottom corner. A terrific finish from him, and like I said, with some of the players Leeds have going forward this season, they could seriously do some damage. Then for our next fixture we then had Norwich, who came up against Birmingham, and Norwich managed to get a much needed 1-0 victory, and I mean, this was just the sort of response which Norwich needed in this game. Coming off the back of that awful defeat they had to Millwall, they got back to Carrow Road and they managed to grind out the 1-0 victory. It was Nelson Oliveira who gave Norwich the lead after just 5 minutes in this one, and in all honesty, they probably could have gone ahead and got more than 1 goal and really killed off this game later in the match. They didn't manage to do that, as 1 goal was enough in the end. Talking over Birmingham, I thought they'll have been quite disappointed in their performance really. They had quite a lot of the ball, but they weren't really doing much with it. They were quite passive in this game really. A lot of side to side from Birmingham, and considering some of the attacking options they have, I mean, one thing that has to be said, when you're going up against this Norwich side, just be direct. Play a very direct style. We saw how Millwall were able to do it, but for some reason Birmingham decided to employ the opposite of what Millwall did in this one, and Norwich managed to keep them at bay for the whole game. So I feel like it's a bit of an opportunity missed for Birmingham, but fair play to Norwich, they managed to bounce back with the victory. And then for our next fixture we then had my club Preston North End, who managed to pick up a point at home to Barnsley this weekend. So I'll talk over the match. In the first half, up until Preston scored, we were actually looking very good in this game. I thought that some of our attacking play was showing the high quality we've come to expect so far far this season, some nice crisp passing, but as soon as Shawnee Maguire scored the first goal for Preston, that's when the game took a bit of a turn actually. It was only 3 minutes that we were in the lead for, and then Brad Potts managed to equalise for Barnsley, and there was a bit of poor defending for that one. I thought that goal was actually very avoidable from a Preston's perspective, but after that the game really seemed to open up and did become quite scrappy after that actually. It got very end-to-end in the second half. Either side could have won it. I did think that Preston edged the second half, and I was a little bit frustrated we didn't go ahead and win the game. You know, some of the chances we had, Robinson had an excellent chance, Hugill had an excellent chance, Mavididi had a couple of chances, Alan Brown had a chance. We were crafting out so much, but fair play to Barnsley. They managed to stay very resilient. Their back four, I thought, were all excellent in this game, and their keeper as well, Adam Davis, was absolutely superb in this one. And Barnsley did have a couple of chances in the second half, definitely, to go ahead and win the game, but in the end it did finish level. I was a little bit frustrated, but it's not the worst result. And then for our next fixture we then had QPR, who came up against Ipswich Town, and quite a bit of controversy actually in this game. And so QPR's home record so far this season has been pretty exemplary actually. Definitely a tough place to go for away sides, Loftus Road is going to be this season, but Ipswich, it's got to be said, they were very unfortunate to find themselves 1-0 down at half time, as there was a clear handball in the build-up from Luongo for QPR's first goal, and getting a goal, it was Mackie who scored in the 43rd minute. That's really deflating for Ipswich, and QPR would then quickly manage to take full advantage of that as Luke Freeman managed to bag in the 49th minute and basically seal the points. Ipswich did get a consolation goal back in the 89th minute, but honestly it was never really going to happen for them, and QPR managed to grind out the 2-1 result. And then to our next game, guys. I know we've had a lot of goals scored in the Championship this weekend, and somehow in this game it managed to finish 1-0 to Bristol City. I say somehow because Reading, I don't think I'm exaggerating in this one either when I said that Reading could have had about 5 or 6 goals in this one. They were creating chance after chance after chance, and they couldn't find the back of the net for either of them. And I'm not talking about half chances. They were creating several clear-cut chances in this one, and for some reason none of their forward players could finish anything. Bodvarsson, I thought especially, really didn't have a great game. He squandered quite a few chances actually, putting them wide, and Bristol City's keeper Frankie Fielding had a very good game in this one, managing to keep the clean sheet in the end, and it was Aidan Flint who managed to go ahead and win the game for Bristol City. Of course, this season Aidan Flint, he was linked heavily away from Bristol City in the transfer window, but in the 84th minute he managed to pop up with the winner. And honestly, I thought that Vito Minone could have done a little bit better with it to keep it out of the net, but fair play, it did have quite a bit of power in it behind, but how Reading didn't score in this game, I'll never know. Then for our next fixture we then had Sunderland, who came up against Sheffield United, and in the end it was Sheffield United who got the 2-1 away victory. And was this deserved for them? Absolutely. They were by far the better team in this one, and that was something that really came to surprise me, just how far off the pace Sunderland and how average they were looking in this game. And it was Clayton Donaldson who scored 2 absolutely terrific goals on his debut for Sheffield United. He could be a seriously good player for them this season, you know. Definitely got that Championship experience and goal score, and he's guaranteed to get goals with the amount of chances that Sheffield United will create for him. And Sunderland defensively I thought were quite suspect, but the most disappointing thing with Sunderland was how limp they were going forward. They were missing Aidan McGeady for this game, but even so, they were just diabolical at times. And then into another game which I was very surprised actually in the end only managed to finish by 1-0. That was of course Wolves, who were coming up against Millwall, and it was Jota who gave Wolves the lead after just 10 minutes in this game after a fantastic strike. Literally he just rifled it into the back of the net from quite a distance out actually, and a fantastic goal for him to get on the score sheet. Definitely going to be a big player for Wolves this season. But the surprising thing for me actually was that after Wolves took the lead in that one, I was expecting them to, you know, go on and capitalise on that, get a second, maybe third or fourth, but that wasn't the case in this one, and especially as Millwall went down to 10 men in the second half after O'Brien was sent off for a second bookable offence. I really thought then that Wolves were going to put the knife in and really go in, but fair play to Archer, Millwall's keeper in this one, who I thought had a terrific game to keep Wolves at bay for it, and they were almost made to pay for it as Millwall did cause a little bit of a scare towards the end of the match, having a couple chances and forcing John Ruddy into a couple saves, but in the end the 1-0 was enough for Wolves. And then for our last fixture to talk over the weekend was of course the evening kickoff on Saturday between Sheffield Wednesday and Nottingham Forest, and in the end it was Wednesday who grabbed the 3-1 victory over Forest. In the end it was a deserved victory for them actually, and Sheffield Wednesday in this game probably edged the first half. Towards the end of the second half, Forest started to come back into this game, and Osborne of course managed to grab a goal, but as we went into the second half, as soon as Fletcher scored for Sheffield Wednesday, Forest weren't really in the game and didn't really threaten much after that. And I actually saw a stat that I think Forest have one of the worst records in the Championship for defending set pieces, and that was on show in this one. They were very poor actually. I think defensively Forest still have a couple issues to go ahead and iron out, and that was seen in this one here today. And Sheffield Wednesday looked excellent going forward in this one. Definitely going to be a force over at the top of the table this season. And when you do get some of their attacking players really on form, you know, the players like Gary Hooper and Stephen Fletcher who are on the score sheet today, they really could be a force. So guys, in terms of my goal of the weekend, there are a lot of contenders for this weekend, as we had some absolute peaches scored in the Championship. And I've got to say my two front runners for this have got to be Kemar Roofe and Jota from Wolves. But for me, it is just going to be Jota who edges it for this one. It was a terrific strike into the back of the net, an absolute thumping effort which left the keeper with no opportunity. Who was your goal of the weekend? Let me know down below. And then for my result of the weekend, once again I could give this to a couple of sides, but I am going to have to give it to Derby County for their 5-0 thrashing of Hull City. I could easily give it to Leeds as well, although Leeds were expected to beat Burton, so for that reason I'm going to give it to Derby County for their 5-0 victory over Hull. So as we do wrap up this weekend in the Championship, guys, that is how the league table is currently shaping up. So of course we still do have Cardiff in the lead of the Championship with 16 points, and now we have Leeds who are in second with 14. Definitely looking dangerous at the moment. So now guys, I will move on to my score predictions for the midweek games going on in the Championship. So we'll quickly rattle through all of these. So Aston Villa coming up against Middlesbrough. I'm going to fancy Middlesbrough to do that one by 2-1. Villa at the moment seem to be having a bit of a shake and a bit of discontent around Steve Bruce at the moment. Leeds coming up against Birmingham. I'm going to have to back Leeds. I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory. Their attack at the moment is looking so potent. I'm not sure any defence could stop them at the moment. I'll say 3-1 Leeds. Norwich against Burton. I'll go for a 2-0 home victory for Norwich. Preston against Cardiff. I'm going to go with a 2-1 away victory for Cardiff. I just feel like with players missing for Preston, like Ben Pearson in the midfield, Cardiff may have too much for us, so I'll go with a 2-1 victory for Cardiff in that one. QPR against Millwall. I'll go for a 2-1 QPR victory. Sheffield Wednesday against Brentford. I'll also go with a 2-1 home victory. Sunderland coming up against Nottingham Forest. That will be a very interesting encounter. I'm going to fancy that one to end level as a 1-1 draw. Wolves coming up against Bristol City. Could be quite a few goals scored in that one actually. I'll go for a 2-1 home victory for Wolves. Bolton against Sheffield United. I'll go for a 2-0 away victory. I just feel like Sheffield United going forward will have a bit too much for Bolton. And then finally we have Fulham who are coming up against Hull on Wednesday. And for that one, I'll back a 3-1 home victory for Fulham. They've got to start taking their chances soon. I reckon it could be that game. So guys, there you have it. That will wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So let me know all of your guys' thoughts in the comments down below after what you've thought of just this hectic weekend in the Championship. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the links in the description down below, and make sure you subscribe for regular Championship content. But apart from that guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.